Hello friends, it's been a while and I did take a break from playing TFD, but I'm back now and I want to give my thoughts on the optimal bunny build for the latest update. Quite a few things have changed, so let's talk about my new setup and how I'm playing her. This build excels at 400% infiltrations, special operations, the new Sigma sector operations, and general field missions. Bunny isn't currently competitive in Void Purge or against Colossi, so I'd suggest switching to someone else for that kind of content. If you followed my last build guide, you'll know that I loved Electric Condense. I still use it, but since speed has been capped at 1300, which, as a side note, is really disappointing since it's so trivially achieved by Bunny, building duration for less movement speed than we were getting before makes little sense. Because of this, our interest in duration is non-existent. Instead, I've pivoted to full cooldown, so it now serves as a massive source of damage. We hit the cooldown cap of 90%, meaning we can bring the 38-second cooldown to 3.8 seconds. This makes way for greater reduction to skill cost and increased damage. Despite the relative strength of our other characters increasing, Bunny is in a fantastic spot with this new loadout. Let's look at the modules first. We're taking Nimble Fingers and MP conversion for skill cooldown, Strong Mentality and Maximize Conservation for skill cost, Focus on Singular and Focus on Electric and Electric Amplification for damage, and Skill Expansion as well as Amplification Control for skill range. I don't know if I'm the first to notice this, but with the new passive tree and inversions, we don't need the Maximize Range module. Although Amplification Control gives 52% as opposed to Maximize Range's 94.4%, we hit the range increase cap without it. The benefit here is that we gain 20% skill power modifier for free, and I guess the 220 or so shield increase is also a non-zero bonus we're happy to take. This is what my RK tree looks like. The skill effect range on the right is what's allowing us to hit the cap. I spend a little time considering alternatives, but nothing else really seems worth deviating from this setup. Adjust as you see fit. For the inversion tree, we're picking up increased HP, increased MP, and MP recovery trigger. Without the MP recovery trigger, our speed of light lasts for about 75 seconds, so guaranteed 2 procs at the very least, which means that even in the absolute worst case, you won't need to pick up a blue orb for about 2 minutes. The hunt option could be switched to weak point damage reduction if you want to shoot the bosses more than using your ability damage. I have a skill cooldown and skill cost Tingling Singularity Reactor. The cooldown needs to be at least 6.2 to reach cap, which I would make the priority stat. Truth be told, I could be convinced that skill cooldown and a boost to electric damage instead is the right reactor. I don't think the skill cost here is that important since we already have 60% from other sources. That said, skill cost reduction gets better when you have more, so see how you go. I can see myself switching to more damage on this reactor though. Additionally, for some pieces of content, a mixture reactor for more damage on your ultimate might be the right play, especially when elites are what's slowing you down the most. Somehow I have 2 identically rolled mixtures that are identically rolled to my singular reactor. Pretty cool, right? External component set bonuses are really quite important, since new sets have dropped since my last video, and yeah, they do make a difference. We want an Ascending Armory auxiliary power with max HP and either fire resistance or MP recovery out of combat, a Hunter sensor with max MP and MP recovery in combat, an Ascending Armory memory with MP recovery modifier and def, and lastly, a Hunter processor with any 2 substats. Maybe max shield and equipment drop rate or shield and a resistance, it's totally up to you. This is the optimal configuration of these 2 sets to maximize survivability, and through the bonuses we get a nice 4% skill cooldown reduction and a nice 6.5% skill cost reduction. I run this build quite a lot with weapons I was leveling, so none of these are mandatory, but Thunder Cage is always nice, and a Last Dagger to burst down bosses. When running through the map, I have a Peacemaker hand cannon on with 20% sprint speed implicit and grappling hook charge time reductions. This is an insanely sweaty weapon choice. The reason why is when we cast Electric Condense, we get kicked out of our sprint animation for a second and will default to our weapon's walking speed. Peacemaker has the highest walking speed of any ultimate weapon, so you'll move quicker with it than anything else. It also has sockets for grappling hook cooldown, so that's a nice bonus. I do use grappling hook more now than I did previously, especially because of the melee animation changing that allows you to keep your momentum. It's completely fine to just run with Thunder Cage and nothing else. Ensure your reactor has the right mounting if you do pick up the Peacemaker. With this setup, we have 90% cooldown on our ultimate and effectively infinite sprint. It feels very nice to play. It'd be so much nicer with more movement speed, but alas. Remember that you also have to manually detonate your ultimate, since it comes off cooldown before the duration of the ability is complete. As for potential switches, if you don't like using electric condense constantly, you could bring out MP conversion for something like energy collection. We go from having 2 minutes of sprint time to something like 5 minutes with this change. Your bar barely moves. A single blue orb fills you to full, and if you pick the inversion passive tree procs, it'll keep you topped up for way longer than you'd need for any piece of content. I tested this setup and was at full mana after 8 minutes, then got kicked for being AFK. So yeah, could be the move. I've considered a build where you don't use Speed of Light at all and instead get your movement speed from other sources. The problem is that Speed of Light really increases the rate of electric gain, which is important for keeping our damage up. You want this bar to be filled all the time, but casting Electric Condense will eat into it. You also need to sacrifice other things in order to achieve it. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze, but it is an interesting idea. You could even couple it with cooldown resets via the Bravery set and the Veterans Tactics module, but spamming EC feels clunky enough as it is, so I don't think it's for me. As always, if you think I've missed anything here, please feel free to leave a comment. I'll pin any responses or ideas that I think are worthy of mentioning. I'm reasonably confident this is the best in slot, or very close to it. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more TFT content in future.